Commerce Clause. It's ridiculous. Yeah, but you know what they do? The last resort? Okay, we can't do it here, so we go to the necessary and proper clause. Well, what does that say in the U.S. Constitution? The Constitution says that Congress shall have the power to carry out any of the other powers listed in the Constitution by passing any law it deems necessary and proper. That's a pretty big catch-all. That's why Alexander Hamilton in 1787 called it the sweeping clause. It is. It does sweep. Okay? Now, here's Scalia in the marijuana case. And he says, okay, he says, all right, Controlled Substance Act, we can't stop her from growing the marijuana under the Commerce Clause because there's just no way to make, put a round peg in a square hole. Okay, fine. However, the Constitution has the necessary and proper clause. And under that clause, I, Justice Scalia, in my opinion, do hold and pronounce that Congress has the power under that clause to pass this Controlled Substance Act. And he sided with the liberals on the court. And of course, Clarence Thomas, oh no sir, I disagree, he dissented. Justice Sandra Day O'Connor, I dissent. Justice William Rehnquist, I dissent. But the other 6 guys, including Scalia, see, and Kennedy went with that too. So that's how that. Now they're going to throw that in his face next week. Mind you, mark my words right now, today in this room. They will throw in Scalia's face next week when they argue Obamacare, okay, the Supreme Court, what he ruled in the Angel Rach marijuana case, okay? And I will bet you my entire life that that will happen. So you just watch for it, okay? So I'm giving you that. And the reason I can give you a heads up on it, because I wrote about it already 6 months ago. And I said, this is exactly what's going to happen someday. I said, Scalia may be the swing vote. So that's what I'm trying to tell you. Now, who is a stalwart on that U.S. Supreme Court? Like none other. Clarence Thomas. The reason I say, because the man from A to Z, from the top of his head to the bottom of his feet, is consistent. And he is consistent with the original meaning of the Commerce Clause. And in case after case after case, he has remarked with almost monotonous regularity that we need to return and to restore the original meaning of the Commerce Clause. Clarence Thomas has said it in his dissenting opinion, case after case after case. The guy is unshakable. I mean, he's inflexible. He is right. He believes, as I do, and as I hope many of you do, and we have to have somehow, some way, we have to recapture, we have to restore, by curative amendment if necessary, and that's what I'm proposing, the original meaning of the Commerce Clause, so we don't get these federal regulations that they want to control the kind of light bulb you use in your house. They want to control what kind of school lunch you pack for your kids when you send them off to school, what they have to eat. They want to control the kind of automobile you drive, the kind of fuel you use, whether it's going to be sunshine and windmills instead of natural gas. I mean, they're going to control everything from cradle to grave. That's what a tyrannical government does. I'm going to show you real. You want to see flesh and blood tyranny? Okay? The Boeing Corporation wants to build the Dreamliner airline. Don't you want to see that airline? I do. It's going to be a beauty. So, Boeing is headquartered in Seattle. And Washington State, of course, is not a right-to-work state. It's a closed union shop state. Okay? Florida, right-to-work state. South Carolina, right-to-work state. All right, now, Boeing has tremendous facilities already in Seattle, hires millions of employees, unionized employees, but they want to build an assembly plant in Charleston, South Carolina for the Dreamliner. So they announced to the world, Boeing, that we're going to build the Dreamliner assembly plant in Charleston, South Carolina. Guess what? Obama's man on the NLRB, National Labor Relations Board, he's the chief counsel, a bureaucrat, okay? He decides, it used to be a 3-man board, I think it's a 5-man board now, but he decides he's going to bring a lawsuit in federal court against Boeing Corporation to prevent them from building the Dreamliner assembly plant in the state of South Carolina, which is just welcoming this opportunity. It's going to hire 2,500 people immediately, create jobs immediately, okay? He files suit to stop it. And you know what his basis is? The Commerce Clause. He says, under the Commerce Clause, we can declare this to be an unfair labor practice. Excuse me? Unfair labor practice? Yeah! Because you, Boeing, you guys, you big Wall Street fat cats, you know, they're not. But you guys, what you want to do is you want to go to South Carolina because you're anti-union. Anti-union? We've been in Washington State for all our lives, and it's a unionized state. What do you mean? We just want to build over there because of many other factors, you know, economic factors. No, no, no. This is, again, you're doing this for anti-union bias is why you're doing that. So they file a lawsuit. Unfair labor practice. Well, ladies and gentlemen, you know, as ridiculous is, ridiculous ends up. That case was considered frivolous after so many months and months and months of litigation. Finally, the government dropped it. So they dropped it. But I want to show you something. Can you imagine living in the United States of America when the federal government, a bureaucrat, a one-man guy, the chief counsel for the NLRB, can dictate to a company like Boeing? If they can do this to Boeing, what can they do to you and your uncle's store and Philip Agliano's shirt factory and the other guy this and this, that? Imagine what they can do to you if they can do that to Boeing and say, you can't make a decision for yourself what state you want to go build an assembly plant in? Okay, is it gotten that bad in America? What happened to that idea we called freedom? And when you say freedom, you don't mean just individual freedom. Entrepreneurial freedom, business freedom, that enter into contracts as you please. What happened to that liberty? Is it gone? Has it really gone? It's almost gone. As I say in my book, got one foot in the grave. That's what I say in my new book. Constitution has got 1 foot in the grave. And if we, the American people, are partly to blame because we've been complacent. And if we don't do something and take positive action, and I'm going to end my remarks right now. I propose a constitutional convention because the other ways and means of amending the U.S. Constitution are very limited. Through Congress, ain't going to happen. If you think you're going to depend on those, and let me tell you, half of them are morons, clueless, politicians. I'm telling you, they're morons. I cite, you should see the way I cite them in my book. Some of their quotations are laughable. When they ask, what is the constitutional basis for this health? You should see some of the answers that they give. One guy, congressman from Georgia, oh, the 14th Amendment. 14th, you talk about a Civil War amendment, you know, Civil Rights Amendment. That's the basis for Obamacare? They're clueless. They don't even know what the Constitution says, much less means. Okay, folks, these are the people that govern over America. Those are the 535 members of Congress that our lives, our future, your children, your grandchildren, all depend on. Can you imagine? That's why we have a national debt that's surpassed the gross domestic product of the nation. Can you imagine? Never thought I'd live to see that day. I've lived long enough to see it. Thank you, God. I'm still here. What a lesson. National debt exceeds the total domestic product of the entire nation? Yes, it does. Yes, it does. 15 plus trillion? Yes, it does. Okay? So, there's no other way. It is this or nothing. It is this or nothing, I say to you. And from all the radio shows Ted mentioned, yes, I have been from coast to coast. California, you name it, Maine, Seattle, I've been in Seattle, Chicago, everywhere. The impression I now have, and I told this to my wife, I said, you know, I think I'm the only one in the U.S. advocating a constitutional convention to amend the Commerce Clause and the General Welfare Spending Clause, which we don't have time to talk about. I could spend days on that clause. That's one of the 4 clauses that I want to amend. Okay, I think I'm the only one. I've seen some people want to enact a balanced budget amendment, okay? You know, that's like using a pea shooter to try to stop a marching Leviathan who's coming down on you, see? And I'm saying, forget the pea shooter. We're going to use a bazooka. And the bazooka is a constitutional convention to amend these key clauses, okay? That's the difference. Balanced budget amendment, that's small potatoes. That's peanuts compared to what I'm advocating right here. So, end of story here. Go to the website, amendusconstitution.com. See the petition. Click it and sign it like Al Casey just did the other day. it automatically goes to your state legislature. You say in that petition to Mike Herodopoulos, President of the State Senate, or Dean Cannon, Speaker of the House of Representatives in Tallahassee, sir, me, you, ma'am, this, I'm asking you by this petition for the state of Florida to pass a joint resolution from both houses of the legislature, not the governor, forget the governor, the legislature, to apply to Congress for a constitutional convention. Constitutional convention, yes. To amend the 4 key clauses in the U.S. Constitution that are begging to be amended. And what do we need? We need 33 states doing this. And if we get 33 states, Congress has no discretion. It is mandatory. Congress must call for a constitutional convention. And they're not going to like it. They are not going to be happy campers at all. But they have no choice. They have to call. And then guess what, ladies and gentlemen? The destiny of the United States of America is now in your hands, our hands, the hands of the people. No longer the clueless, moronic representatives that we have representing us in Washington, D.C., but actually now really and truly in a real way, your hands for yourselves. I'm doing this for my grandchildren, and for your children if you're young, for your grandchildren if you're my age, and if you're older than me, for your great-grandchildren, okay? That's who we are doing this for. Questions? Yes?
You were talking about the Commerce Clause, and you said that you can't force someone to buy insurance from you. You can't force, the government can't do that.
Right.
Let's say that the Supreme Court next week decides to rule in favor